blew out a knee. And he said, no, I didn't get a scholarship. And I said, well, that doesn't mean you can't play anymore. And he goes, oh, but I don't really play. And I'm like, no, I really don't, because I play every weekend. And I think that that's something that's happened here, is that our kids think that failure is if the only success out there is to get a scholarship. So on a team of any kids, like you look at 100% of the kids out there, only 0.1% is going on to play professional sports. So we're setting our kids, our youth up, 99.9% of them, to fail. And I actually think equally as bad is that we are setting our coaches up as failures, because when I grew up, my coaches were my heroes. Bruce Ritchie, and who was up in Vernon, and Andy Gilbert, they were my heroes because they helped me succeed to be a better person. But now coaches are considered failures if you can't get kids scholarships, or that you're not the champions every year. Like we've really failed as a society to remember what it means to succeed. And I'm just going to finish that up to say that I have spent a lot of time with groups like the Positive Coaching Alliance, and I love the work that the Aspen Institute is doing on play. And we all talk about the narratives that are out there in North America about sports. And what is that voice saying to everybody, especially our kids? Because today that sport narrative voice is controlled by the professional leagues, the NBA, the NHL, the MLS, and all of their broadcasting partners. And by the way, don't get me wrong, I love entertainment sports. If I can go to a game, I can hashtag love the Warriors. But it is the only voice out there. It's the loudest voice in the sports and rec world, and it's one that people tend to be touched by almost on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
And again, that entertainment industry of sports, where people are choosing sports as a career, now we're highlighting how much they get paid. Because, success now means I'm getting paid multi-million dollars to play this sport. So are we really surprised when kids, young athletes, drop out because they've been told, you don't have any potential to make it, because that's success? So I could go on forever about the negatives, but that's not me. I'd rather focus on, well, how do we change this?
Right. And I would like to come back to like a couple of those things that you mentioned that,
yes,
Will on TV. And I love sports too. It's on all the time. My 4 girls, my wife, they watch more football than I do. They know way more about college football and pro football than I do. And what always gets me, though, is in between the halves, the games, the highlights, they basically get into the warrior mentality. That's probably about 80% of the message, which is it's about winning and the money, and then they'll even put it in the business perspective, like, well, if you're not delivering, you got to get rid of that guy. But then you'll see the commercials that come out once or twice a year for promoting a coach of the year, promoting something like Positive Coaching Alliance, or any other really good nonprofit that has kids' interests in mind, and then they'll talk about John Wooden, and they'll bring up because and I think they like bringing up John Wooden because he had a ridiculous number of wins, but as one of my previous guests was talking about, Dr. Jerry Lynch, that John Wooden was all about loving his players. That's what I know him for. Right, exactly. And so I think, because right now, if you look on Twitter, anywhere else, if you want to, I don't know how many times a day John Wooden's name will be evoked, in the name of, don't quit. It's all about growing people. But at the same time, that's not, when we cross the line, what we see as often as, those feel-good moment infomercials and tweets. And I'm with you. We need to get back to that. And I see it moving, because that's why I'm doing the show. That's why it's so easy for me to find people like yourself, to be honest, that want to come on, take your time out of your day and talk here and share for other people, because there's a lot of great movement. So
there is.
Yeah. So
what's your favorite John Wooden quote? Do you have a favorite John Wooden quote?
I guess
I'm supposed to let you interview me, but
that's fine. Yeah, it's a two-way microphone. Yeah. I don't know any I associate with them, but when I see them, I'll tweet back when someone tweets a quote. But it's usually, I'll sometimes taunt people when they take it out of context. Same with Vince Lombardi, and they'll take something where it's Vince Lombardi say, "Yep, this is how we want to raise kids to be." I'm like, well, it depends. Vince was, he's a winner, all right, but he had some harsh things to say usually, and then sometimes they'll bring in, John Wooden, and they'll quote it, and they'll do it more in a business-like thing. I'm like, well, he just let business take care of itself. That's what I've learned, and it was about his employees, if you will, and he had a mission, and he had a great bottom line. He didn't have to bully anybody into putting up numbers.
Well, I was I coached girls basketball, and I coached boys basketball, and I coached little kids soccer and stuff. I really shouldn't have been, but basketball was my game. And I used to have on the back of my clipboard the John Wooden quote about success. And it says, "Success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing that you did your best to become the best you are capable of becoming." And that used to say it all to my players. So when I was standing there with that quote, but hopefully by the end of the season, they actually got it. Anyway, side note.
Yeah, and those are the ones that it really is as best as you could be. So how do we help from that turning into, well, but I got to measure up against somebody. How else do I know how good I am if I'm not measuring up against someone? And that's the slippery slope in any of these quotes, all this good stuff that's happening. What is it that you think with, the community that you want to develop with PlayyOn, how can that help us, swing to the right side of all the good intentions of all these quotes and things like that?
Yeah, I actually, when we build, what's going on right now with PlayyOn is we're building the base for being able to now allow all the content to come from its community. And so that's what we actually, we see this very robust set of content that is driven by its community. Today, we provide the free-to-use platform so that an organizer can, go online and plan and execute, whether it's their program or a team or an event, tournament, whatever it's going to be, and they can set up registrations, they can set up their schedules, they can do all the communications for plans. So you can see it's sort of like a very logistical side of it. But as we're moving forward, what we're doing is now starting to put features into place that really allows for people to identify what is success. So allowing coaches to give points for what they consider to be success. So, I always say is, so when I coached, I felt that success was, number one, making sure that the kids reach their potential, right? Not what I wanted them to become, but what their potential was, or even for matter, what they thought their potential was. But then also to do all the lessons that come from sports, like what does it mean to be a good teammate? What does it mean to know how to do teamwork? Are you resilient? Do you know what it means to strive towards a common goal? And that was my sort of scorecard. And I used to give that to the parents and say, let me know how I'm doing. We're going to check in a couple times during the season and let me know how that's going. I felt that this is an important thing. I used to also, by the way, there were two scorecards. One was for me as a coach, but one was also for the team. And saying, are we a good team? Do we play well together? Do we include everybody? Are we good sportsmanlike? And I think that what I was doing was letting them know what I thought success was. And that's what we need to verbalize more. We need to have it in our hands every day, knowing that that is what is success. And I think when people start to remember that sports is for them and that it's about their personal satisfaction and personal effort, I think we'll actually start to create more people who feel like they should belong to sports.
I would say I want to stop on your report card or your check-in period. What I liked about that was often, everyone say you got to go get feedback. You got to ask people things. So what happens is you say, "How are we doing?" And without framing it, you'll get, "Well, I don't think you're putting kids in the right position. My kid, their kid. I think you guys should have done something else. You should have gone for the win." And you'll get that because that's what parents think you're asking for. Then there's the other school of thought, which I think is someone told me.
What I'm advocating for.
Well, no. I'm going to go past that to the opposite end. Also, what people say is as opposed to letting it all fly, they'll say, "Well, I don't want that." So I'm going to kind of only ask questions that I know the answer to, like, you all want to have fun, right? You're all here to work hard, right? And that's not really connecting either, but I've done that in thinking I was communicating, here are our goals. And that, I don't know who the hours was. I mean, those are mine, whether or not that became the players. But the way you're doing it is I like it. You're asking for their input, but you've framed it so that they don't have to believe it, but they have a chance to believe what you're saying without being it forced upon them. And I think that's a really cool way of reaching out, again, to the parents too.
Yeah, and what I have been taught, and I hope one day I can become a really good leader, but it's always a work in progress, is not to go in and tell people where to go, but to go in and gather everybody and say, where should we go? Because it works so much better to walk with a group than it is to push them along. And I find that, especially when I'm coaching, if I sit down and have a really honest conversation with my players about what is success for our team, and getting them to define what success is, really makes a big difference. And I will tell you, there's a huge difference in the genders of what boys will say versus girls. Boys are a little bit more cautious in talking about how they want to have fun. They're a little bit more cautious about saying things like, I want to make friends. Like, they don't say that sort of thing.
Right.
They tend to talk more about competing hard. Doesn't mean necessarily winning, but they want to compete hard. And they want to become better. And I think that's great. There are girls, too, that say that. But girls will also say a lot of things like, I want to make friends with everybody on the team. I want to bond with everybody on the team. So it really, it matters for each team. Every team will be different. Every player will be different. But I think that asking people what they want is really a key in learning what success is going to be. We do that. I have an amazing, talented group here at PlayyOn, and they focus a lot on our customers. All they do is go to our customers and say, what do you like? What do you want? What do you need? And they're constantly designing and building things for our customers because we care about them a lot and we want to make sure that we give them what they want.
And what are some of the things that people are looking for? And again, you're serving people who want to have create a better athletic experience for their kids and themselves, even as adults. What are they looking for?
Well, usually the first person to come to PlayyOn is either a coach or an administrator because they're looking to find an easy and potentially free way to organize and plan a season. And so they're, oftentimes they're looking for, all the technical things like how do I set up registrations, collect information, get waivers signed, how do I collect payments, how do I tell people what the schedule is, all those, again, logistical things. And here's what they really want. They want it to be easy. They want it to be where they don't have to go and learn a whole new thing. It just flows really nice and easy. And that's something I can say I'm very, very proud of. Like I said, we've got a great team here at PlayyOn. And so easy, it has to be instant. So one of the things about PlayyOn is you just go on and you just start using it. You don't have to call a sales guy. There's no sales pitch, no nothing. You just start using it. It's instant. And, of course, the benefit about PlayyOn is that it's free to use. and there's no need for signing up for a subscription.